Welcome back to Man Down Sports, man. It's so much news going on around the NBA, even though it's just two teams left playing in the playoffs, and that's Denver Nuggets and Miami Heat. They'll be playing tonight. I got to give you my picks at the end of this episode about who I think is going to win Game 1, who I think is going to win the series, and all of that good stuff, man. But so much news, man. Monty Williams got hired by Detroit, a nice contract. I want to say it was about 75 mil. For I gotta check the years on it. It might have been 4 years, but a very good contract. That's a good hire for Detroit. I definitely probably do a video on that coming up shortly this week. Phoenix still don't have their coach yet. We're hearing that Doc Rivers might be it. But the other big news that happened this week was Bob Myers deciding to step down from the Golden State Warriors as president and GM. And I think that's the first shoe to drop with this Warriors dynasty. This might, I don't know if they're retooling or rebooting or moving forward with the core, but I'm going to tell you why I think Bob Myers stepped down. I could be wrong, but I'm going to tell you what I think, right? First, I'm going to play something that Magic Johnson said when he was asked on Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's podcast, on why he stepped down for the Lakers.
I regret not calling LeBron, telling him I was stepping down.
Right.
I really regretted that.
Right.
I owed him that.
Why did you step down?
Shannon, it's just I had to. I thought I had the power to do what I wanted to do.
Right. And the power. What did you want to do?
I wanted to fire Luke Walton.
You didn't feel that he was capable of doing the job.
I knew he wasn't.
Right.
And so I said, hey, we gotta let him go. He's not the right guy. He's not a great coach for the Laker team, and they wanted to keep him. So I said, okay. I already knew that I didn't want to fracture the great relationship I had with Jeannie Buss.
Right.
So you heard what Magic Johnson said, and I think that's important because from a GM or a president's perspective, right? You want to be able to have the power to do what you want to do. Right. And Magic Johnson didn't feel like he had that power because he was supposed to be the president, but then they got this GM position that Rob Pelinka was filling. And I guess he felt really ambitious. And then Luke Walton was a hire from Jeannie Buss, and they had a relationship or whatever. They had some type of familiarity. And Magic Johnson going to Jeannie Buss saying, I want to fire him, or maybe going to Rob Pelinka and saying we should fire him. Someone was giving pushback and saying no. Maybe it was the Rambises, maybe it was Jeannie Buss, maybe it was all of them, right? And he was like, dude, why am I here? Like, if I can't make these decisions, I think this is what need to be done, and nobody's backing me, right? And he was like, all right, look, man, I just give it to y'all, I'm out, right? I want you to think about that, because I think Bob Myers is a smart guy. He's no dummy. And we got a couple of things that's going against the Warriors coming up in the next year, especially year after next, right? That new CBA is going to penalize the Warriors very mightily for what they got going on with their contracts and their roster and their payroll, right? They're already paying heavily in the tax right now. So to keep this team together the way they want to, the way Steve Kerr wants to, and the way Draymond, Clay, and Steph wants to, that Joe Lacob is going to be paying so much luxury tax, it's going to be ridiculous, right? So that CBA is already working against them. The luxury tax already working against them. And then the guys that they're paying most of that money to, like Draymond, is opting into, he's probably going to opt into a $27 million contract for his final year. And Clay's final year, he's making $43 million. And just to put that in perspective, you got Klay Thompson making $43 million, and he's not your second best player anymore. All right, your second best player might be Wiggins, and after Wiggins, it might be Jordan Poole if he could ever get his stuff together, right? But Klay's not the number 2 like that no more, and he's getting paid like he's the number. He's getting paid like a number 1 because he's making it just $2 million less than Dame Lillard next year. Dame Lillard is making 45 next year. Klay's making 43. So imagine that. Imagine how good Dame is, and he's a number 1, and he's younger, and he hasn't had the major injuries that Clay has had. He's making 45. Clay's making 43, and he's not even your second, first, or third best player, right? So just imagine that. So you're paying those guys. They're getting older. They're declining, and they're an asset in some way, but not in the way that their money is needing to be an asset. So Bob Myers is looking at all of that, and he was drafting to replace those guys. You can tell he was, because he drafted Jordan Poole. He turned himself into a third splash brother, and the writing was on the wall, as Draymond said on his podcast. He said the writing was on the wall. I knew, it's my time's probably up, right? That's basically what he's saying. Clay knows that too, so he's looking at his replacement in Jordan Poole. Draymond is looking at Wiseman be drafted number 1 and say, okay, that's where y'all want to go. Y'all want to go back to a 7-footer down low. You know what I mean? He knows that his time is going to be up. Not only did they draft Wiseman, they bring in Wiggins, they bring in Moody, they bring in Kuminga, right? All of these guys, Bob Myers was drafting and bringing in, and he was like, we're going to keep this thing rolling. He already knew at some point he was going to have to come off Clay and Dre. That's what I think he was getting at. What I think happened is, based on what I'm hearing during these press conferences, is number one, nobody in that core 3 of Steph, Clay, and Draymond thinks that their time is up. So those 3 guys are 100% thinking we're the best bet for the Warriors. You got to keep us together. You have to keep us here. But both of them already had said they want the max contract. So not only do they want to play their final year of their contract, they want an extension for the max, right? And rightfully so. I think they feel like they earned it, because now you got a team in the Golden State that was bought for $500 million that's worth $4 billion, right? And you can sit here and say, I don't care what you think I'm gonna give you in the next 3 years. The money that I'm asking you to pay me now, I've already earned by making your team a $4 billion team with 4 rings, right? So if I'm their agent, that's what I'm saying during the negotiation. So they're not cutting nobody no slack. They may, but they shouldn't, right? So I understand it from both ends, but from Bob Myers being stuck in the middle, he's looking at it like what needs to be done, the right thing that needs to be done, either he can't do because his emotions are tied into Steph, Dre, and Claymon, Steph, Dre, and Clay. I'm sorry, Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Steph, Clay, and Draymond. His emotions are tied up in them, and he don't want to say, "All right, we got to split. Y'all got to go." I don't want to. As the GM that was here from the beginning with y'all, I can't be the one to tell y'all not getting a max extension, and I can't be the one to trade you. So either emotionally he can't handle that, or he can handle that, and he's expressed that that's what he want to do, but the front office is not agreeing with him. And if we can include in the front office is the GM, the owner, and Steve Kerr, we already know there's a disconnect with the GM and Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr is on the side of Steph, Clay, and Draymond. He's saying this is not a championship team without Draymond. And there's no reason for him to go to a press conference after they got put out in the second round and say that if it wasn't being talked about around the arena. So this has at least been talked about. Draymond already said the writing is on the wall. They already paid Poole, right? They're keeping Kuminga. Like these are the things that's letting you know somebody in that office is trying to move forward. And then we know Steve Kerr is not. Steve Kerr don't want to move forward without all 3 of those guys. And he said, without Dre, there's not a championship team. So basically what I would say if I'm Bob Myers is, okay, Steve Kerr, you're telling me that you can't win. You can't coach a winning team without Draymond. So whenever Draymond leaves Golden State, you need to leave too. If that's what you're telling me. If you can't figure out how to use Steph Curry, if Steph Curry is as good as everybody say he is, and you can't figure out how to retool around him and create a contender without Draymond, you're telling me Draymond has to be there, then why the hell am I paying you? You get what I'm saying? Like, I need you to figure it out. Like, Eric Spoelstra lost LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. and then he got back to the finals twice. I need you to figure it out. That's what we're paying you for. I need you to figure it out. You can't tell me I have to overpay and pay in a luxury because you can't get rid of Draymond Green and figure out how to coach a Steph Curry in his prime or toward the end of his prime with a lot of left in the tank. You can't tell me that. So what I will be saying is I don't care what you think. We're trading Draymond, we're trading Clay, and we're going to get pieces in here that's going to fit, and you're going to make it fit. You got a whole summer to figure it out, training camp, and 82 games and plus the playoffs. That's what you got. That's what I would tell them. So that's exactly what I think is going on. I think Bob emotionally can't do what needs to be done, or someone's not letting him. Like I said, we know Steve Kerr don't want to do it. We just don't know what Joe Lacob is thinking. So which side did Joe Lacob take? Did he take Steve Kerr's side, or is he taking Bob Myers' side? And Bob Myers is saying, you know, whatever, or maybe Joe Lacob or it could be different. Maybe they all on one accord. Maybe Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, and Steph, Dre, and Clay are all on the same accord. But the owner is saying, I refuse to pay this luxury tax. We need to shed this salary. Right? It could be that. So that's my whole 2 cents on it. I think what needs to be done, they're not all on the same page. And I think Bob Myers is like, all right, I'm out. Right. So that's my 2 cents on that. But moving forward to Miami Heat, before I even get to my predictions on the finals, we gotta talk about that game 7. We gotta talk about that whole series because that MVP, this is the second one that's been handed out, the Larry Bird trophy for Eastern Conference Final MVP. It was some controversy. You know, you got Jimmy Butler that comes out, steals game 1, steals game 2 on Boston's home court. Game 1, he had 35, right? You know, so that's a big thing to come on. You're number 8 seed, you don't have home court advantage, and you coming and playing against a team who, when they're locked in on defense, can shut a superstar down. We've seen them do it to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving last year in the first round. And we just seen them do it last round to Joel Embiid and how they defended him. So, and he got a Harden and a Maxey and a Tobias Harris. Now, imagine if you could shut down Embiid with him having help, and then you go to Miami and black man can hit. They shut down Jimmy Butler when his number 2 and Tyler Hero is not even playing. You get what I'm saying? So imagine having all that attention. Imagine a team like Boston that is very, very good defensively when they lock in, game planning for you, and then you coming out game 1 and stealing game 1 on their floor and dropping 35, right? So it wasn't that controversial for me in the moment right after. I mean, just seeing Caleb Martin play that game 7 and hit shot after shot after shot, and he was shooting at a high clip. Just to see that, you kind of forget weeks ago, it feels like weeks ago, that Jimmy Butler performed outstanding in games 1 and 2, and which were very important games because you stole home court advantage. Not you, and you got stingy. You just didn't get one game, you got both games. And then you went home and got the first one there. I mean, that was amazing. That was mostly Jimmy Butler. Now, Caleb Martin, I think 2 out of the 3 of those games was the number 2 scorer right behind Butler. But I mean, those games was important. Now, the games that Caleb really balled out in was definitely the game 7. But those 3 games that they lost, I can't give you more credit for having good games and losing efforts versus Jimmy Butler as a number 1 having all the attention on him, the defense being locked in on him, and he's still delivering and getting 3 games, 2 of them being in Boston, right? So that's how I look at it. I look at degree of difficulty. I look at Jimmy Butler had a harder degree of difficulty to get his buckets because he was the focal point on the defense. Then I look at whenever he did get his, it equated and led to wins. And when Martin got his, it ended in losses except for the game 7. So that's how I looked at it. It wasn't controversial to me, man. The Miami Heat played well. I like that Kevin Love contributed a little bit. I think he'll be used a little bit more in the Denver series. I get to that toward the end. Tyler Hero might be back, I think his 6 weeks that he was supposed to be out is coming up. It's coming up on 6 weeks pretty soon. They already ruled him out for game 1, but I think game 2 or 3 is a possibility. Now, which leads us to the Boston Celtics and the decision they got to make this summer. Man, all right. So Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both made All NBA, and now Jaylen Brown is eligible for not just the max, the super max, which is a difference between about $100 million. So now he can sign a $295 million contract, and I think that's just for 4 years. Right? That's ridiculous. That's a lot of money, right? Especially for a number 2. Hopefully Jaylen Brown don't feel obligated to ask for that whole supermax. Hopefully he can leave some money on the table. He don't need, $295. Good Lord. Like save some money to sign some help, right? Because y'all obviously need it. Yeah, y'all need a third guy. Right. I like the fact that you have a big 2, but Jaylen Brown's not a superstar. Right. So and Jason Tatum is, he shows you superstar and then he shows you all-star. It's like he goes in and out of what he want to be. Do he want to be do he want to be Pippen, or does he want to be Middleton? You get what I'm saying? It's a difference between Pippen and Middleton, what he is, man. So it's a tough decision for Boston. I don't know if they offer him the full $295. We'll see what they offer him, and we'll see what Jaylen Brown end up accepting. But everyone that's saying that you have to get rid of him, you have to break them up because they lost in the conference finals, I don't think so. Right? Like you got two All NBA players. It's only 3 All NBA teams, so that's 15 players. So you got arguably 2 of the best 15 players in the league. And they both wings, and they're both under the age of 26. And they both durable and don't get hurt that often. Right? So neither one of them had those major injuries like Kawhi and Paul George. You get what I'm saying? And look how they keep getting hurt. Like they pretty much got the same thing. They got 2 wings that are both really good 2-way players who both can get to the basket, both got good size on them, and they both can shoot the ball. They got the same thing. Kawhi and Paul George in LA is the same thing as Tatum and Brown in Boston. You got the same thing, right? So breaking it up, I don't see add a third piece. And explain that to Jaylen Brown. Look, we go. I mean, we need you to leave a little money on the table so we can get y'all some help. Maybe we can go get Brook Lopez. He's a free agent. Let's bring Brook in. Right, let's get big at the rim. That'd be big. Bringing Brook Lopez is. It's other great free agents out there. You know what I mean? So they got a lot that they can do. But signing Jaylen Brown is going to be important. But if they do trade him, I mean, in a I don't know, hypothetical, if Portland would want to come off of Dame, maybe Dame and Tatum look different than Brown and Tatum. You lose a little something on defense, you get a little smaller, and then of course you're probably going to have to do something different with Marcus Smart if you got Dame. I mean, is that a need for Marcus at that time? I mean, you still got White and Brogdon, right? And Smart's making a pretty penny too. So if you make a trade like that, yeah, we give Brown and Smart up, give us Dame, right? Yeah, if something like that is available, then yeah, maybe you can sign and trade Brown. Maybe you can, but other than that, if you're not getting a player like that, if you're not getting Dame, or you're not getting, I don't know, maybe you can get someone that can do the same thing as Brown, but that's a lot cheaper. We don't know if Siakam is available. Maybe that might be a little different. Anunoby, I don't know. Things like that. I mean, it's some options out there, but I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't panic. I would be trying to sign him and see if I can get him for less than that Supermax. And if I can, I keep him, and I just try to build around him. So I think that's the way forward for Boston. Now, the other thing I say about this is this Joe Mazzulla situation, because I mean, I just read a report that the coaching staff that was under Udoka in Boston are all leaving this summer and going to go to join Udoka in Houston. And that tells me a couple of things. It tells me, one, whatever Udoka did that got him suspended from Boston, his coaching staff did not think it was that egregious, because if they did, they wouldn't be trying to go back and work for him in Houston, right? That's number one. Number two is either Joe Mazzulla or the Boston front office has turned them off to where I would rather leave than stay here and work. So maybe the treatment on how they treated Udoka maybe turned those coaches off and they want out. Or maybe coaching under Mazzulla was not pleasant, and maybe that's why they want out, right? All we keep hearing is Jaylen Brown say things about this Boston fan base and how racist they are, right? So how you're just being frank, right? And Jaylen Brown said that, and I can't unhear that, and I can't unhear other players that have said the same thing. But all of that stuff just interesting, Mazzulla supposedly is safe. His job is safe. But his coaching staff is leaving to go with Udoka, so that's just something I'm gonna keep my eye out on. Maybe some more stuff will leak out, some more truth will leak out, because we still don't know exactly why is it so bad what Udoka did. We know he had a relationship with a staffer that was consensual. There was no force, anything involved. And I'm not buying that quid pro quo that she worked for him and she felt like she had to do it, right? I'm not buying that, because she's not a coach, right? So working for him, no, she wasn't working for him. She worked for the organization, but the coach doesn't run the organization. He runs the team. And if she's not a coach on the coaching staff or anything like that, I just don't see how you could say she works for Udoka. I don't see it. So it wasn't a quid pro quo situation. And I just don't understand how they handled it that way. But evidently those coaches don't think what he did was that bad, because they're going back to work for him. And last but not least, let's get to my predictions, right? So this is the 8 seed playing the number 1 seed. This is, Vegas got the Nuggets as favorites. If you really look at it, I'm gonna say something that might sound like a hot take, but it's really not. I was always high, and I was always high on Michael Porter Jr. coming out of college. I just knew that with his back, he was gonna have to work hard to get back to his normal self, because he's going on 2 back surgeries now. I know the type of potential he has. I know how good he can shoot it. I know he can make plays off the bounce. I know he can make plays in the post. His defense is getting better. His rebound is getting better. So here's the hot take. Michael Porter Jr. is the number 3 for the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, Jokic is the number 1. Jamal Murray, as healthy he is a number 2. And Michael Porter Jr. is the number 3. He don't get plays called for him. He don't get that many post-ups. He score off catch and shoots. And if he gets the ball on the fast break, he can come up and pull up a 3. That's pretty much how they're using him. So what I'm saying is that you're not going to know how good Michael Porter Jr. is until he leaves Denver and get his own team. I'm telling you, this dude got superstar potential. I promise you he does. With that being said, as the number 3 for the Denver Nuggets, he's better than the number 2 for the Boston Celtics and Jaylen Brown. Yes, Michael Porter Jr. is better than Jaylen Brown. Here's the big part. He's actually equal, if not better, than Jason Tatum. So just put that in your mind. They just played Boston Celtics, went 6 games. Denver Nugget has a number 3 that is better than the best player on the Boston Celtics. So the firepower for the Denver Nuggets, on top of the fact that they got a 2-time MVP in his prime who is a load to stop, who is also an offensive machine and genius with passing the ball. And then you got Jamal Murray just playing at like a real high level. And they got 2 players averaging more than 25 points a game. I think I want to say Jokic is averaging 29 and Murray is averaging 27. That is ridiculous, right? That is just a team that's destined to win. So here's my prediction. I do think that the Miami Heat are outmatched, but I do also think they have something going for them that can help them. And this is what I think they got going for them. Number one, nobody but Caldwell Pope on the Denver Nuggets, including the coach, has been to the finals. All right. So that's a whole different dynamic. When you look at Miami, you've got Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, of course the coach Eric Spoelstra, Udonis Haslem, Kevin Love, I might be missing some names, but those all have been in a deep playoff run and been to the finals, even though most of the names I named was in the finals in the bubble, so they might hit a little different, but they felt that pressure, right? They've played for all the marbles. So the heart's going to be there, the effort's going to be there, and they're going to be ready for the moment. So that, including their coach. So that's what they got going for them. The other thing they got going for them, I think Eric Spoelstra is a masterful coach, and being teamed up with Pat Riley as your president, I mean, they clicking, they're going to be ready. So the type of things that I've been wanting teams to do to Jokic, which is get very, very physical with him and have some type of game plan to stop him, I haven't seen yet. They're just taking their chances. Hey, man, we think you're a good defender, guard Jokic. Do your best. They're just taking their chances. I haven't seen what Boston did to Joel Embiid done to Jokic none of this playoffs. I think Miami can do that, especially with that zone they play. I think they could frustrate him. I think they can throw some bodies at him that's gonna get physical with him. I want to see that. I don't want to see them come up and play Jokic fair where they're not getting real physical with him. I gotta see them get physical with Jokic. So I think Miami can do that, and I think they got the experience on the players. I think they got the experience in the locker room. I think they got the experience on the coaching staff. So that might work for them. All right, so I say all that to say this. Here's the prediction. They're still outmatched, right? They're not going to have enough points, right? It's going to be very hard. And the last team I seen outmatched like this, because the NBA, I mean, their stories just repeat itself. Or should I say their scripts repeat itself, right? And this reminds me of Shaq and Kobe Lakers versus one-man show Allen Iverson and Philly. And this is Jamal Murray and Jokic Nuggets against the one-man show Jimmy Butler, right? So the script that I think is going to be for this finals is Miami come out, get game one somehow. And that's going to pique everybody's interest. Oh, shoot, this might be a good finals. And then Denver get the next 4. 4-1, Denver in 5. Miami gets 1 game, but they play well. So that's my prediction. Nikola Jokic will be finals MVP. So he will have his Western Conference MVP, his finals MVP, and the 2 MVPs he won last year and year before last. And he have his first ring. And it'll probably be his only ring, right? Because the NBA don't throw that many bones out there. So, yeah, that's my prediction, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. We'll catch y'all on the next episode. Oh, we're coming back Friday. Full panel Friday, full episode Friday, 11 o'clock. It'll be the whole panel. It'll be me, Zoe, Chris, maybe one more person. So I'll see y'all on Friday. So we'll be talking about game 1 the results of game 1 on Friday, and we'll see if I was right. But until then, man, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.